we are going to take a look at more brain section models. We just took a look at horizontal sections, but now we're going to look at a frontal section and a mid-sagittal section.
Oh.
Let's take a look. So, well, not just of the brain, but also of the whole head. So let's take a look at this frontal section. So this frontal section is like if you just sliced your head like this. You see the eyes? Yeah, pretty freaky. All right. So we can see the eyes, of course. We can see the separation between hemispheres of the brain. We can see the nasal septum, which is formed by the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid and the vomer. We can see the inferior nasal conchae. These are the turbinates, the lower turbinates. And then the middle, and I think you can only see the middle nasal concha, not the superior one here. But these are to increase surface area as you breathe in, help humidify condition, and filter air. There it is. I have some sinuses here. These are maxillary sinuses because they're on the just inferior to your eyes. You can see your oral cavity with your tongue. This would be the roof of your mouth where you have your hard palate made of your maxillae and palatine bones. You can see the teeth that fit into the maxillae and into the mandibles. You can see some salivary glands here, which we'll get to later on. I think those are all the things I want you to know on this particular model at this point. So let's take a look at this mid-sagittal section. In this mid-sagittal section, we can see the layers starting at the most superficial. We can see the integument, the skin, getting to the bone. Deep to the bone, in this lightest white color, you've got the periosteal layer of the dura mater, dural venous sinus in blue, and then the next white part is the meningeal layer of the dura mater. So dura mater, meningeal layer of dura mater, dural venous sinus, that's how we drain blood away from our head. You can see all this blood here. And then the periosteal layer, which is continuous with the bone. Here is your brain. You can see this deep line here. That's indicating the central sulcus. So this is the precentral gyrus, which houses the primary motor cortex. This is the postcentral gyrus, which houses the primary somatosensory cortex. This is also the division between the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe. Back here we've got the occipital lobe, and then more lateral, which this does not show. It would be the temporal lobe. We can see the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum looks like a swoosh, and then the swoosh points to a dot here. That dot is the anterior commissure. So both the anterior commissure and the corpus callosum, they're commissural fibers. They have fibers that cross hemispheres. So they're coming up at us. Another thing that you can find in this area, what's labeled as 15, that's indicating the optic chiasm. This is where your optic nerves form a crossing. So one nerve from one eye, one nerve from the other eye, they meet at this point, and then continuous optic tracts towards the occipital cortex. Excuse me, occipital lobe, the visual cortex in the occipital lobe. Optic chiasm, this thing here, that's the pituitary gland. And the thing that it's sitting in, that's the sella turcica of the sphenoid. So here's the sella turcica of the sphenoid, the Turkish seat. The pituitary gland is sitting inside of it. It's attached to the hypothalamus by the infundibulum. So this is the hypothalamus. Infundibulum, pituitary gland, hypothalamus. This round thing, if we're talking about the brain tissue, the round thing is the thalamus, and the thalamus on either side, they're connected by this dot, this tissue here. That's the interthalamic adhesion. The two thalami are kind of sandwiched, or they form a sandwich with space in the middle, a fluid-filled space in the middle. You can see this on this model here. This is a space-fill model of the ventricles, and you see that dot right there? That dot is so that the interthalamic adhesion can fit in. So what is the space that's here, the fluid that would be filling here, that's the third ventricle. So we've got the corpus callosum, lateral ventricle, in where 5 is, third ventricle, cerebral aqueduct through the midbrain. This region is the midbrain. You can see those two bumps here. Fourth ventricle, Fourth ventricle continues down to the central canal. So that's where the cerebrospinal fluid is flowing. You can see this thing here, that's indicating choroid plexus, where CSF is produced. I said that this was the hypothalamus. This is the thalamus. The pineal gland, I believe, is indicated by this thing here, number 14. Pineal gland, that would make sense if this is the pituitary gland. Pineal gland produces melatonin, the thing that helps you regulate your sleep-wake cycles and other circadian rhythms. This region is your midbrain. This top bump is the superior colliculus. This bottom bump, labeled 18, is the inferior colliculus. Together, they're known as the corpora quadrigemina, literally four-body twins. Corpora quadrigemina. It's because there'd be four of them. You only see two because you're looking at one half. Where it gets rounder on the brainstem, that's the pons. Where it gets thinner, that's the medulla, and then we continue down to the spinal cord. We see our cerebellum back here, the posterior side, posterior and inferior. We got some tonsils here. We'll get to that later. You can see our nasal conchae, superior, middle part of the ethmoid. Inferior is its own bone. See the frontal sinus of the frontal bone, sphenoidal sinus of the sphenoid, nasal cavity, of course, oral cavity, pharynx. And then here's that decision point between the esophagus and the trachea. See how the trachea is supported by cartilage? This is the larynx, excuse me. This is the larynx down to the trachea. And this is the epiglottis, made of elastic cartilage. But referring to the brain, I suppose one more thing I could show you is that surrounding the corpus callosum, this region right here, is the cingulate gyrus. It's part of the limbic system. In general, it's important for things like emotion, and also reward systems. So this area is affected if you have an addiction. All right, that's it for this one. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have questions.